limbless gibberish spouter Rayman is back on consoles once again, but this time he's not starring in another remake of Rayman 2, and he's gone back to his 2D roots, in a brave departure from the norm, which sadly almost definitely means it won't sell very well. Ubisoft have poo-pooed the 3D platforming action of Rayman's previous adventures, and instead created a frankly beautiful work of old school art. The storyline of Origins is as random as the game itself. From the looks of the opening cutscene, Rayman and his mates have been smoking something dodgy and are monging out up a tree with a bad case of the munchies while listening to some fat beats on their iPod. This angers the granny who lives in the flat below, but instead of just calling the feds or lodging a noise pollution complaint with her local council, she instead unleashes an army of creatures known as Dark Toons across the world. A slight overreaction, I reckon, but I had some really noisy neighbours in the last house I lived in, and I swear if I hadn't have moved when I did, I would have unleashed my own kind of hell on them in the form of an angry letter shoved through their letterbox, when I was completely sure they were tucked up in bed and wouldn't be able to catch me posting it, of course. Ooh, they'd have been sorry then, I can tell thee. The hand-drawn graphical style of Rayman Origins is a bold, refreshing change, and the bright colours complement the crazy action which takes place on the 60 or so levels in the game. These levels are all connected by a map-style hub world which is instantly familiar to 2D game fans, and along with the generic run and jump and bounce on enemies' heads to kill them platforming levels, there are also some R-Type style side-scrolling shooter levels where Rayman rides atop a mosquito, and also some unlockable treasure chest chase levels which are still 2D platformers, but the aim here is to make pixel perfect well-timed jumps in order to navigate constantly shifting landscapes. One wrong move and Rayman will fall to his death and burst like a wet balloon. Then it will be back to the start quicker than you can say biddy-gay, biddy-gay. Now, a platformer game is nothing without collectibles. Mario has its coins and stars, Sonic has its rings, and Rayman Origins pads out its gameplay length by sending you after Electoons. Collect enough of these floating yellow face thingies and they will help you unlock new characters to players and also new levels and lands to explore where you can rescue imprisoned fairies who grant you new skills like running up walls and flying. This adds a load of replayability to the levels and collectaholics will love trying to catch them all. I think I've mentioned before that the visuals are amazing, but you really need to see them running on your own console to get a true sense of how smooth the animations actually are. Some of the levels require you to fly through them at high speeds, and the 60 frames per second graphics look stunning and super smooth. This YouTube video is only running at 25 frames per second, so the visuals here just do not do it full justice. The level locations span jungles, ice worlds, oceans and fiery kitchens, and each has their own unique soundtracks, my favourite of which being the music from the underwater level. Just listen. It complements the game amazingly well and adds to that crazy Rayman personality, although some of the tracks can get a bit aggravating if you're on a particularly savage dying spree. The whole thing reminds me of old school platformers. It's like Super Mario World but mixed with the eccentric what the fuckery of Earthworm Jim. I mean, seriously, what the hell is all this about? A fork with a line stuck on top, shouting at an iceberg that kills you? Oh man, it's just best to go with it. It'll hurt your brain less that way. The game is great fun to play in single player, it can get savagely hard in the later levels and your deaths will be 10 a penny, but thankfully the controls and the difficulty curve are set just right, so the frustration is kept to a minimum. This means you're less likely to go throw your joypad at your mother's head and more likely to give the level another go, which is nice. For your mother. You can also play Rayman Origins with up to 4 players, but only offline. There's no online play here, which is not a massive problem because the game would probably suffer if there was any online lag. Plus, if all 4 players are in the same room, you can always lean over and punch someone in the arm if they're being proper rubbish. Satisfaction guaranteed. All in all, Rayman Origins is a gorgeous throwback to the gaming scene of my childhood. A fast-paced, colourful, fun platformer with tons of charm and humour that can be enjoyed by gamers of all ages. There were times when the level design started to feel repetitive to me, and as with all platformers, there is a certain amount of frustration involved when you continually mess up jumps only to be transported back to the beginning of the levels, but these are minor gripes and ones that platform fans will be well used to by now anyway. I would thoroughly recommend the game, so it's a pity that the 2D stigma will probably cost it sales-wise, because it's leagues above most of the modern-day 3D platformers available in the shops. Fear not though, because Ubisoft have faith in their depthless baby and are already getting to release the game on not only the 3DS but also PlayStation's upcoming handheld, the Vita. So do yourselves a favour, ignore your preconceptions and go grab a copy of this game and support creativity and artistic bravery in the games industry, because otherwise the next Rayman will be a fricking first-person shooter. You have been warned!